Hello, welcome to the ZETA IAS. I am Devesh Verma. Today's topic of discussion is flue gas desulphurisation issue in coal-based power plants. As you have heard or read the news regarding the rollback of the guidelines regarding FGD systems in coal-based thermal power plants, in which Government of India has effectively rolled back its previous 2015's year 2015 mandate, in which it required to install the FGD systems across all its coal-based thermal power plants. Now they have completely rolled back. So we will see why it was done, what was the need, and what exactly happened. And we will also see, is sulfur dioxide is really an issue in our country or not? Okay, so we quickly go into the decision what was made in a brief manner, and later we will elaborate it, right? So what happened recently is that Government of India has mandated that only 22%, or alternatively you can say that 78% of the coal-based thermal power plants of India were exempted from installing the FGD system across its sites, right? So first of all, let's see what is sulfur dioxide, why it needs to be controlled. What is sulfur dioxide after all, and why it needs to be controlled? See, coal-based thermal power plants uses coal as a fuel for generation of the electricity, right? So what happens is that our coal has lot of high ash content, and also 3.3 to 0.5% as sulfur in its composition. You must be wondering, it is just so much low percentage. Why should we, after all, be concerned? We should be concerned. See, we are generating our electricity out of which our 70% are generated by the coal-based thermal power plants. And when we generate 70% of our electricity through coal-based power plants, is certainly a huge number. It's around 210 gigawatts of amount of energy you are generating. When you use so much of coal and multiply with this 0.3 to 0.5% of emission, it becomes a lot of emissions of sulfur dioxides. So it becomes a issue for a public health concern. Why it is an issue? Let's dig deep. Sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide is a public health concern. Why? Because it is responsible for the respiratory illness in human. It is responsible for the respiratory illness in human beings, and also other living animals also. It induces asthma, bronchitis, and other cardiovascular pulmonary diseases. And apart from this, it is also responsible for the acid rain near industrial towns or industrial areas where these plants are located, right? So sulfur dioxide is not an simple pollutant. It's a complex pollutant because it's also the primary pollutant and as well as secondary pollutant also, because when it reacts with ammonia in atmosphere, it produces ammonium sulfate. So this ammonium sulfate goes into the bloodstream of human beings, where it has the potential to damage our organs, our skin, etc. So this pollutant is very harmful pollutant. So we need to cut down the emissions from our thermal power plants to control the emission of sulfur dioxides. So what government of India did, it mandated to install the FGD systems so that the pollution of sulfur can be controlled, right? So what happened here, the sulfur dioxide, India is the top producer of the sulfur dioxides, around 12.5%. 12.5% according to a report by Center of Energy. Center, I'll tell you the name. Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air. Center for, wait a second. Center for Energy for Research and Clean Air. It told that India is the #1 emitter of the sulfur dioxide, and it produces 12.5% of the world's sulfur dioxide emissions based on the data of NASA, right? So here you would have understand that the sulfur dioxide is not good for health and absolutely for the atmosphere and the climate also. So let's come to the FGD systems. FGD systems, what are they? There are different types of FGD systems employed across the industry to reduce the sulfur dioxide emission, to cut down it to the harmless extent. So this flue gas desulphurisation plants, India uses the most common type, that is the wet limestone type. Wet limestone FGD. So as the name suggests, limestone, so somewhere limestone would have been used in these systems. We will see. See, limestone is a as a alkaline slurry, that is alkaline slurry. I'll write it. Limestone as alkaline slurry is sprayed over the exhaust gases, that is the flue gases. When you spray over the flue gases, chemical reactions happens. So what this chemical reaction does, there are two things: clean air free from SO2 and gypsum as its byproduct. And gypsum as its byproduct, it's a synthetic gypsum because it is not a natural gypsum, because it is made by the chemical reaction between different compounds. So gypsum is the byproduct. When you use FGD systems in coal-based thermal power plants, and gypsum can be sold to the cement industry also. You must have read about the use of gypsum in the cement industry, right? So gypsum can be used there. So these were the FGD system, how this FGD system works. And apart from this, I've told you why we need to control the sulfur dioxide emissions. Now let's quickly come to the discussion of the policy guidelines, or the timelines of the policy guidelines. Let's see what happened in 2015. In 2015, what happened? Government of India mandated that all coal-based power plants needs to install the FGD systems. So FGD systems were mandated with a different deadlines based on distance, etc. Right. So what happened that there were several challenges that this power plant faced. There were economic challenges, there were operational challenges that this power plant faced. Right. They were not able to implement it, not able to comply by it. So what happened? As you know, policy extension happens. These extension happened 3 times. In 2017, when government of India saw that most of the power plants, less than 5%, were able to comply their guidelines, and there was almost very less hope in future also to be complied within the timeline. So they gave a 3 successive extension till the year 2024-26. So compliance pushed to 2024-26. So then new guidelines came in this month only, last week, in which government of India rolled back his previous policy. And what happened, that they have exempted almost 78% of the power plants from the requirement of installing the FGD systems, right? So remaining 22%, around 22%, remaining 22%, right? Coal-based thermal power plants, were asked to install the FGD under certain criteria based on distance and the pollution severity. Let's see. There were two. They have defined the category. In category A, there were the power plants in the NCR region, within the territory of NCR, up to the radius of 10 kilometers. 10 kilometers. They were, if you are present in NCR and within the radius of 10 kilometers of NCR, if you have power plants, they need to install immediately. Immediately means they have given deadlines. Immediately 31st December 2027, you need to install till 31st 2027 FGD systems into your power plants. It is must. And another category B, these were the systems, these were the category of power plants in which you need to install the FGD system based on the expert committee review on the case by case basis. It is primarily based on two criteria. Expert committee will focus that is it a severe polluted area or critically polluted area. If it is a critically polluted area and densely populated urban area, then you need to install these FGD systems till when? 31st December 2028, right? And rest of the power plants in rural area, in any area, they were exempted. You need not to install. It is based on the certain logics, certain points, why they took this decision. We will see, right? If government of India takes some decision, it is always based on some committee's reports, right? So let's see. They don't take haphazard decisions. They always give reasons. See, what were the key reasons behind the rollback? What happened? Government of India constituted a committee under the principal scientific advisor. So this committee recommended certain changes in our policy, rollback of this policy, and at the same time, it gave reasons also. We will see the reason one by one. Right. First reason first point that I told you in the starting, that the coal has only 0.3 to 0.5% of the sulfur, right? Exactly the same reason given by our expert committee under the principal scientific advisor. It is stated that Indian coal has low sulfur content and that ambient sulfur dioxide level are already below permissible limit, right? So it found no significant difference in air quality between areas with or without FGD systems. So it said कि you need not to install, why to waste so much of energy on these things. This was the one reason. One reason was, I'll write here, was low sulfur content in Indian coal. Low sulfur content, right? They found it. And another was, they cited the IIT Delhi's study. What was that study? That study said it. It said that acid rain is not an issue in India. It's not a significant issue in India, right? They conducted research, IIT Delhi, and also this principal scientific advisor committee cited this. So acid rain is not an issue. Is not an issue. Third, as we all know, that FGD systems are very costly systems, and at the same time, it also requires a lot of space to install. It requires nearly football size field size to install these systems in coal-based thermal power plants. So these plants need to have that much space. If they are old plants, then how will they create so much space? Like if your plant's in Delhi, right? If this plant is present in Delhi, it's already a lot of urban encroachments are happening nowadays. So if to generate this some amount of space of nearly football size field in urban areas like there is next to impossible. So basically a economic plus space size or space limit issue, right? See, I will give you one of the data that the installation of retrofitting all units are estimated around, if you want to retrofit all power plants with FGD system, if you want to fit it, it requires nearly of $30 billion. It is around 2.54 lakh crore, or it would raise also tariff of electricity that comes to your home by 25 to 30 paise, 25 to 30 paise per kilowatt hour per unit. It will increase. Your bill will increase by 25 to 30 paise, right? Why they will increase now, you would be thinking. Think for a second. So when this power plants, the electricity generation power plants that is coal based, if they will install this system, it will cost them in thousand of crore or sometimes or maybe more than that. So to capture this, to recover from this loss or the financial burden, they will enhance the electricity price, right? So it will directly comes to your home, and it will be increased. So this was one of the major reason. And what happens is that they also given a logic that there is a low sulfur low sulfur low sulfur in coal, that I've told you here. Low sulfur in coal. Another logic was there is even if we don't install FGD systems, only what will happen is, what will happen, less emission per kilowatt hour is there. Per kilowatt means per unit of electricity. Low emission per unit of electricity. So effectively, we are producing very less emissions per unit. So it should not be a concern according to the experts committee. Let's come to the next point, that they also gave another point. Next, come to the next point. They also gave. They also said that ambient SOT level, ambient sulfur dioxide level, is already low. Sulfur dioxide level at in air is already low, so it should not be a concern for us. So they have said that, right, in most of the locations of India. So, and at the I've told you multiple reasons like financial burden, also the vendor and space constraints, also like vendor issue was there. Well, we have a limited vendor, those who can supply these systems. We have limited manufacturing capability in India, right? So directly, these were the reasons cited by our principal scientific advisory committee. Based on that, policy was rolled back. But see, here we have seen the different kind of these challenges, like space and time constraint, and issue should not be there. Now we will see also that if this policy implemented, what questions, what kind of questions people can raise here. Because see, there is still SO2 is, still SO2 is going into an atmosphere. Is still SO2 will be emitted. SO2 will be emitted still. It is not been taken care of. What they have done is, the urban areas, sorry, I'll write it clearly. See, in our India, there are two kind of areas, right? You must be knowing this: urban areas and the rural areas. Okay? Urban areas are near about 32%, near about, right? 31 to 32%, and rest of the 68% is rural area. If you have seen closely the policy, recent policy guidelines, they have mandated NCR region power plants to retrofit the FGD systems into it, and at the same time, there is a category B also, in which densely populated urban areas were asked to install FGD. What about these people? They constitute 68%. What are they neglected? See, this is the primary one of the main concern raised by activists, and at the same time, we can also see that there were other questions were also raised. So, see, why this policy failed? Kind of, if it is rolled back, it is failed. So why it was failed? Because there some activists or authors have also cited reasons that China and European Union, what they have done, they have installed FGD systems. China has installed the FGD systems in 90% of its power plants till 2020. Or similar is the case for EU also. European Union. They were able to do it. They have a lot of power plants also in China, but India was not able to do it. There were reasons. Let's let's go to the reason first, right? So reasons primarily revolves around the finance. There were the challenges in India, like they were not given subsidy. They were not given subsidy by government to install FGD system, which was given by China. It was given by China to its power generation plants so that they can install FGD systems. If they can give, why government of India is not giving? They should also give. This is one of the argument, right? So since we are the largest producer of sulfur dioxide, we should be serious about this. And we have neglected urban areas also, and we are not giving funding also. So for reducing the SO2 level. So these are the primary reasons that were given by the authors and various academicians to counter the government policy on certain aspects, right? So let's see, let's move on to the next thing. So what should be a way forward? What should be our way forward? So what should be the solution? We have seen the challenges, we have seen the issues. What should be, after all, we should do? Should we should roll back our that mandated policy that were mandated in 2015? Should we go back to that policy, install FGD systems? See, these are not the feasible solutions. Why we will see here. Coal-based thermal power plants are generating fuels by burning coals. They are fossil fuels. It's not good for the climate, right? Our larger goal, long-term goal, is going towards the greener economy or greener emission, using green fuels like clean fuels, right? Like solar, wind. FGD systems are a near-term fixed solutions. They are not the long-term solution. They are the near-term fixed solutions. It will give you the like some respite from in temporary manner, but in law, because you are burning coal after all. And if you are using FGD systems, one point I also want to make here, that what FGD system does, it also produces lot of carbon dioxide, almost 3 times more than what it reduces in terms of sulfur dioxide emissions. And as you all know, carbon dioxide is the major greenhouse gas. It also stays in the atmosphere, right? It also it stays in atmosphere longer time than the sulfur dioxide. So it's not good. So sulfur dioxide is basically remains for the low time, right? It can be tackled, but not at the cost of emission of carbon dioxide, right? So we need to go towards co-firing. Second point is we need to think alternate, like, right? So you should have some fuel, alternate fuel, mixed with coal, right? So what will happen if it is a greener fuel? If it is a greener fuel mixed with coal, it will generate the lesser amount of energy, lesser amount of emissions, lesser emissions. This can also be the one of the solution, use of solar and wind, use of solar or wind as a long-term option. Invest in these type of resources or the plants. This is our long-term solution. Use of, and apart from this, what you can do is like blending of coal should be a mandate. Blending of coal should be mandatory in our plants. Like plants must use 6% of imported coal, that is lower sulfur coal, plus 4% of biomass pellets, so that it reduces sulfur dioxides before FGD. Even if before you use FGD, it reduces sulfur dioxide, right? So you will be needing this less powerful FGD, right? So government should government should also take some initiative as a way forward, like what it can do, like FGD waste use policy, reuse policy, in which push to this plant should push to use FGD gypsums in road construction and farmlands, right? So these alternates or way forward can be there, right? And for the rural areas, rural areas, government of India should also devise some policy, devise some policy, right? For what? For to reduce the sulfur dioxide emissions. They have completely ignored now, right? So this was the issue, recent issue. I have told you in a very brief manner. I have described this in a very brief manner with relevant points. Let's hope it must have the topic must have been clear to you. Okay, we will meet in the next topic also in the next class. Happy learning. Keep learning.